21-22 budget workshop. Debbie, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. All right, we're going to turn this over to you. Everyone keep in mind this is our first one, and I'm sure when this is over we'll get the schedule, but if everybody's ready and we can hear, we're ready when you're ready, Debbie.
Okay. I'm going to go over some high points that are on that presentation where it has the fiscal year 21-22 budget presentation document. I just thought it would be nice to see some historical numbers so you guys can comparisons about how you're rebounding on the revenues from after the storm. The property values have steadily increased. So our current expectation based on the property appraiser is $480 million, which is up from around $341 million last year. So the property values have definitely increased, which leads you to an increase in revenue. And again, that's a good representation of the property tax revenues, how they've steadily increased over the last few years. And it's a good rebound again as things come online, construction, you're going to get more property taxes. So we'll still see that stream. We're fixing the fiscal year 22 budget on the same ad valorem tax rate that we had last year, which is 8 mils. And then before is there a question?
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, it's the presentation, the second page, or third page in after the title.
Okay.
The charts.
And that's why I'm making sure they're looking at charts and you're on the first written page is what I'm talking about.
On the chart, it's the property tax revenue actual and anticipated.
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Okay, we're good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Okay. So the next page, which has details about the property tax revenues, which shows you exactly what the property tax values are, and the increase of 16% from the prior fiscal year. So your increase in value is also going to be a comparative increase in the revenue collection. So you can see that on the line item document that I provided for actual budget details.
Debbie, that 408 million came from the DR4?
The DR4 is not yet, the DR420 doesn't come out until the property appraisers just did their final certifications July 1st. And so we'll get the DR420 prior to the tentative meeting, and then we'll have that final number so we can adopt that tentative budget.
So this 408, the 408 million is an anticipated.
Right. From
Okay.
the property appraiser's office.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anticipated numbers out ahead of time.
Right. Okay. Unless you're working. Go ahead.
Okay. So is there any questions about the property values of the property? So that's the biggest source of revenue for the general fund. Was there any questions about any of that information before I moved into the state revenue?
Nope.
So the next source of revenue, the majority is in the general fund is the taxes from either user fees or the state, and just based on the growth that we've kind of seen. It's hard to gauge because of the sporadic. After 18, your growth stopped and started, and now we're seeing a definite increase uptick. But I did like a 3% increase on the state of Florida. As you have more units coming online, your utility taxes are going to increase, your local option gas taxes, sales taxes, discretionary tax, all those things in the state of Florida are going to start increasing because it's based on the number of sales, retail sales you have, or the number of people you have renting units within the city limits. So I did a 3%. I think that's conservative. I think we'll probably see more than that, but I'd rather be a little on the area conservatism than doing 10% increase and we'll only see 6, and then we already have a budget, based on those revenues. And then if we retain that 8 millage that was already at 8 millage, then we're going to see a increase of revenues over the budget, is around $700,000, and that increase is going to help us offset the matching costs, some of these capital projects, any capital improvements that we do for infrastructure, parks and rec, the pier, anything that cities have to come out of pocket, we will have those funds set aside to be able to kind of offset using our fund balance or our money in the bank, where we can kind of rebuild like we had prior. So that the $700,000 is represented at the end of the line item detail. I'll say what page when we get to that step. So that was good news because we do have the ability to set aside or to use funds from the current year to offset growth or future capital improvements that you want to do, to recover, instead of dipping into any of your saved money. As far as the expense side, with the anticipated cost of living increase is 5%. So I included the 5% cost of living increase for employee raises and associated benefits. So we don't know what the health insurance or life insurance increases are going to be, or dental, whatever the benefits the city pays, until closer to October, November. So I, again, estimated based on historical numbers, and I think we didn't materialize all of the health insurance premiums or benefit premiums that we allotted for this year, just because we're not fully staffed and we're able to kind of cover any changes in the premiums. So I think we're going to be fine with any, with that, that increase to the benefits for employee raises and stuff. We won't have a significant impact to the changes there. And then operating expenses, I'm of the belief we're going to hold steady on almost every line item just because we're going through that. We're still reallocating expenses based on FEMA costs. And I think that in mid-year there's a requirement to increase or decrease the budget. We can address it then, but I don't see any issues with remaining steady on most of our operating expenses from this year. And then the good news is we paid off some debt. So the SunTrust loan has been paid off, and that affected water, sewer, and general fund. So that's a nice little surprise there. So we paid that off in April. And then we only have two more debts associated with water and sewer. That's the SRF and the USDA. So those are still on the books. We'll still have the budget for those when we get to those inside funds. Any questions about the revenue or expense details?
Debbie, mainly because I just want it read in the record for other items. What is the SRS and the USDA? What are those loans for?
One is for the sewer improvements, wastewater to lines. Years ago, when we had to join the county sewer system, and then the water expansion from 2000, I believe. Both of those, one was $4 million, one was $2 million, and those are the two remaining items.
And that sewer line is the sewer line that runs up Tyndall.
Yes.
How much of that's left?
Well, I got the memorization. On the 2.1 million, we still have, it ends in 2052, and there's probably a few hundred thousand. I need to total, but it's
The year's good.
And
then the other one,
Debbie, on that one, would there be any sense in refinancing that?
we can discuss, I don't know what the current interest rates are for municipal refinancing, but the 2.1 million is at 2.7
Oh.
annum.
Yeah,
So,
it's non-existent. It doesn't
the
matter.
other one is, yeah, and the other one is, I don't have that handy, 4.75.
Nice stuff. Good stuff.
Okay. Okey-doke.
Okay. All right, so the other if there's no other questions about the general fund, we have to move on to the enterprise fund.
Please continue.
Okay. All right, so these are the hardest ones because your revenues come from user fees, and because you have very few users on your sewer, water lines, and sanitation, those have been negative. The budgeted numbers for last year did not materialize significantly, so that was you see a big decrease if you look at the water revenues and sewer revenues and sanitation, only because, again, the budget for the user fees was 1.1 million. We've collected around 700,000 to date on the water user fees. So we're not going to materialize that to 1.1 million. So I budgeted an 18% or 19% decrease in hopes of getting around 922,000 in user fees. And that's, again, hoping that some of these projects or some of these houses come online. And if you look historically, on the line item detail I provided 2 years historical, you can see the year before the hurricane, we had 1.1 million in actual receipts. So we're going to get back there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And so we're just going to have to kind of mitigate some large expenses if we can. So the good news is $1.1 million of insurance proceeds have been reallocated to the water fund. So in that last financial statement that I provided, it showed the water fund had an over $1 million negative balance. I think we should be good at 15,000 now. So that's my hope is that this reallocation of all the finance to the FEMA money is going to affect the sewer fund in the same manner. But I'm still working on it with the auditors coming in. So I'll be able to keep you guys updated as the reallocations occur. As far as the other revenues for the use of water funds, there's really nothing significant. I'm holding steady with the other revenues, which are the reconnection fees, water tap fees, and late charges. Only because they're really a small amounts and immaterial, we don't realize a couple $1,000s there. So the biggest, impact of the new budget is that decrease of 19% of water user fees. And to offset that difference between the revenues and how we're going to affect the expenses, there are some decreases, and because again, some of the expectations for the growth didn't materialize, and some of the expenses could be reduced based on that. The 5% cost of living is also increased, or included in the budget. We did have a decrease for the sanitation. The water fund for the contract being paid off. I also decreased a few of the expenses on the line items. You can review those. And if you have questions, you can readdress those in the next budget. So there's really nothing super significant except for that. Anything about the water?
Yeah, Dave, when you say decrease the use of water fee, maybe I didn't follow that, but are you speaking, how are you budgeting? I didn't understand that. Are you budgeting a decrease?
In revenue coming in.
Right, exactly. So in this current fiscal year we're still in, the budget for water sales was $1,141,000. We're right at $700,000 through July, and so we only have 2 more months in the fiscal year, and so we're not going to see a $300,000 or $200,000 increase to those revenues. So the expectation is that next year is going to be similar to this year with a growth factor, like a 5% growth factor. As new houses come online and the user fees and the sales go up. So I had to base that estimation on where we are right now with actual receipts and a small growth of 5%.
When you finish this, are we going to then go look at the individual budget items? On the big sheets? Okay. All right, never mind, go ahead.
I just thought it might be too confusing to go back and forth between the.
Yes, it is, okay, all right, that's all I wanted to, thank you. Go ahead.
Sanitation fund. Sanitation fund is exactly the same situation. The user fees that were budgeted for this year will not materialize. So I'm projecting a 25% decrease to the revenues for this next fiscal year. But as again, you're in a T. You know, in prior to the storm, we had a budget of $592,000, or actual receipts of $592,000 in sanitation user fee, which is $170,000 more than what I'm projecting for next year. So even though eventually we'll get back there, we're not there yet. So, and I'm basing my budget on where we are today with collections and projecting those last two periods of the fiscal year based on where we are now. As far as expenditures, the real change is there's the 5% cost of living, and then we have Tommy asked for $10,000 for dumpsters, so we include that in the budget as well. And then we move on to the sewer fund. The story continues with the sewer user fees. Again, it was budgeted for $1.2 million. We're right at $760,000. So we've had to reduce by 22%.
You need to feed that dog.
We're catching
That's how we.
we're capturing the pop to the jaw every time we do it. It's really fun. Thank you.
She's a baby thing, and she's never sorry. Okay, expenses. So 5% cost of living, and then the decrease to principal and interest because we're paying off that Sunbelt loan. Okay, so now we can go into the details. So does everybody have their presentation?
Yes.
Detailed line items? So if we start with general fund revenue, that's on page 1. And I'll just point out that second column is 2021 current. And the reason it's kind of graded a little different is because there's still FEMA money that has to be reallocated. So I identified the FEMA revenues that are a little weird, like the miscellaneous line item where it has $2 million for the current. That's just because money's been received and nobody's where to put it, so that's going to be reallocated, and it'll show around $4,000 or a lot less than that. So, but if you look at the 2022 requested, the total general fund revenues is $3,902,000. And then if you go along each column, you can see the 1 year prior adopted, 2 year prior actuals, and 3 year prior actuals. So that's a good representation of how the revenues were historically and how some things have changed. And then I can show you the increase that I'm requesting or that's being requested from the prior fiscal year. So it kind of puts a number on it. Again, if you look, there's not really a whole lot of change between any of the small departments. We can go on down to the city council, city administrator. If you look on the bottom of each of the subtotals, you can compare the totals of increase or decrease for each because it identifies if something is going to be increased. And the reason if there's an increase, like for the city clerk, is mainly because of there's been some the request for that 5% cost of living and associated benefits, but the operating expenses really haven't changed. So if you want to kind of scroll on through, I'll kind of identify any of those big changes. You shouldn't see, again, anything out of the ordinary, anything huge. If you go to law enforcement, it looks a little weird because in the prior fiscal years, in the historical, we've had our own budget where we had line items. And so the comparison has changed just to that professional services. that's in FEMA, and it should, I don't know why it's in FEMA. So you can see the new contract amount is $771,750, which is in 20% increase from the current, or whatever the contract is that they started with here. And I don't know if that was a full year or, but that's the request for the new law enforcement.
Where is that different?
The fire department.
If you look on page 3 in the middle, it says law enforcement,
Yeah, I am.
and what we paid before was 642, and the
642
new is
and-
771. And again, I think that the 642 is probably a partial year. I don't know for certain when they started and when they stopped, but
That is-
we only approved. I thought it was like a 10% increase, not a 20% increase. A 5% increase.
Well, but if that's 642 is not a full year,
And that's why I'm saying it. I think it's because the last year was only a partial year.
right?
I do too.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
But their contract only went up by 5%.
And I did an estimation or a comparison for you for if we had our own budget, where we would be based on the last 2 years. We would be around $854,300 based on 3% increase over the last 2 years. So it's definitely a lot less than it was if we had our own, based on the last year's budget we had. And then the fire department, they had an improvement of the buildings for $10,000. Sandy, can you explain what the $10,000 is for?
The 10,000 is for the new communication system and the P28 radio system that Bay County is putting in. That is to pay our expenses and that on a yearly basis going forward until the loan that the county took out to pay for it is paid off. And just a quick point, they're actually starting a new antenna across on the St. Joe property within the month. I just saw them the other day. So that's not the budget. So that's what that $10,000 is for.
Yeah, then everything else pretty much stays the same except for that expected increase in the personal services for that 5%. Okay, we scroll down to there. You can go as low as you want. So if you want to look at each, like the code enforcement, page 5, the general maintenance, all of those have a very small increase. Again, it's all based on the 5% cost of living. The repairs and maintenance and road department on page 7. It was increased by $5,000 for request by Tommy. If Tommy is there, you.
$5,000 increase.
No, I can get his email.
On the road.
On the roads, yeah. He's here, he just didn't quite hear you. She just wanted to explain.
Oh, the 5,000 for repairs and maintenance.
For repairs and maintenance, she said there was an increase in repairs.
Is that in the road? Is that what I heard say?
Which page?
Page 7. Tommy, page 7, there's a $5,000 increase. Can you tell us what it's
Oh,
for?
who's up? Yes, okay.
It's
Repairs and maintenance. It went
Yeah,
from 20,000 to
Debbie.
25,000.
I added the $5,000 just for the stormwater because of the amount of ditch repairs that we're doing. We're still, right now, we're still in the black as far as for the budget this year, but we're getting close. Now, you know, I talked to you a while back and said that, you know, when we do those ditch repairs or we put in pipe for somebody, the amount of money that they reimbursed us goes back into the road department account. Is that correct?
Debbie, Tommy just said that when he does a driveway that the customer pays for the culvert and then it goes back into our account, it basically is a net zero. So I'm assuming you just don't even account for that.
so
Yeah.
it's in and out.
Yeah, I think when I talked to you last time, you know, Sherry, they pay Sherry over at City Hall, and I think you explained to me the last time that whatever that amount is that we spend for the pipe or whatever, that goes back into their account. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a net neutral. They pay, you pay, and we don't have to put it in the budget because it's a net zero.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, the only reason I added the 5,000 back on extra in the road department was simply because of all the stormwater issues that we're encountering, so that make sure that we do have enough by the end of the year to pay for those. That's what that 5,000 was for.
Okay.
Tommy, why are the uniforms double? More than double.
The uniforms.
Yeah, why is the number so high?
The mayor, well, this year, we went 3 years without getting any uniforms. And I spoke to Mario about it when I ordered them. We had allowed for $250 per person for uniforms, which from now on, that we won't have any problem maintaining that. What happened was when none of the guys had any uniforms, we ordered uniforms, we ordered a jacket, we ordered rain gear for the guys on the sanitation trucks and all. That's what put us over budget, was on the uniforms, was because they had nothing. We went, like I said, we went 3 years, we didn't buy anything, and you know, the guys all needed that. So what we kind of done was basically like when we first took over buying our own uniforms rather than renting them, there was a higher amount because we didn't have anything, jackets and stuff like that. So that was the reason that went over. This
When
company,
you say over now, I'm just looking at what,
well, about double. In other words, if a department was $500 for uniforms, we ended up spending there about $1,000 for that department, so that we could get what they needed to.
The budgeted number for this year was $750. The expense this year was $1,600. We don't need to carry $1,700 for next year because now that we've caught
Okay.
up,
That's
we
right.
should be able to go back down to the $750.
Right. It will go back to what we normally would spend.
okay.
So if you can change,
I
Jamie, if you can
understand.
change that uniform from $1,700 to $750.
Right.
Is that all public works departments and water and sewer are going to be, go back?
Yeah, back to what it was before because now that we've caught up.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, that would be on all of them, baby. Everybody's.
That's what you just said.
Okay. Okay, and then, the other, there's Parks and Rec, which is, there should be no other large changes again until we go through, on page 9, which is Parks and Rec.
Yep.
We are seeking, rentals and leases, which is in the middle of the page.
Yeah, I can.
$13,000.
That I can explain. We, not having any restrooms, the council decided to put the porta johns out. That's where all that money is, out of the rentals and leases, is for the porta toilets that's on the side of the road. Once the bathrooms are rebuilt, that will go away. Back to what, $2,000, I think is what we had, budgeted.
But again, when we had the buildings, you would have paid a lot more on the utilities and other things. So I mean, there was a savings for not having the buildings, and it was offset by the rental. But at the end of the day, we're still less expensive with the temporary portalets in the meantime.
Okay. I agree, it's a necessary.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so this is the very bottom of the page 9. We have the general fund or the transfer out and transfer out capital improvement. The transfer out is based on dedicated funds that the council has previously wanted to allocate to different things like piers. And that would be utility tax that's collected, the local option gas tax that we get from the state is by state statute required to be funded towards the street department. So that's offset as well. And then all utility taxes. So that number is just based on the transfers we're going to do from our grant operating fund into those restricted accounts or dedicated accounts. And then the transfer out for capital improvements. This number represents the difference of revenues we expect to collect and the expenses that we have. So we're to the good of that $710,000, but even though that's it, makes it sound like it's great. These funds can be dedicated or should be dedicated, to any future capital improvements, building infrastructure, parks and rec, pier, canal, anything that we may need for matching funds. That was the designation of those. So it's obvious, definitely discretionary. So however, we can list specific projects, or we can leave it as a balance to kind of feed off of. It's discretionary based on the council and the city administrators. Input. So I've never seen that there. We can do just about anything you want with it.
And it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have that kind of money for a rainy day. Again, we have a bad season. We have a big break. Anything like that, you don't want to have zero balance in your savings account. So it's kind of nice to have that 710, so that at least we have some wiggle room.
Right. Yeah. Because you've eaten out all of your fund balance of your rainy day money over the last couple of years. So it's nice to, and we know that you're going to have projects in the future that are going to require some out-of-pocket expenses. So it'd be nice to plan to be prepared for it instead of kind of reacting for it.
And I did ask Debbie if I could use this for a sanitation truck, and she quickly slapped my hand and said, "That's not general fund."
Debbie, let me start. I've got some comments about the general fund. One of my objectives when we finished this process last year was to get away from 8 mills. That's exorbitant. And I understand why we're at 8 mills. My figures show that 1 mill represents about $396,000. What does 1 mill represent by your numbers?
Well, I took 97% of projected, so it's about 320,000.
320. We have got to find a way, or at least I think we have to find a way to reduce the millage rate. And it's nice to have $710,000. And I'm a little bit surprised, I guess, from FEMA or from the storm, we don't have a lot of capital needs. They've already been taken care of. Because there's no capital improvements on this budget, none. Which is extremely unusual for Mexico Beach. Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming that FEMA took care of, or the storm took care of, or the insurance took care of replacing the things that would normally fall under capital improvements. I don't know what's a good buffer. Since the storm, I think the buffer's a term that is loosely used because we have a lot of things that we could use it for. But one thing we cannot continue to do, in my opinion, is not show some due diligence in lowering the millage rate. 8 mills, to me, can't become the norm that we live under. We went to 8 mills because the fire department, we couldn't assess the fire budget because hell, we didn't have anything to assess. There wasn't any homes here, there wasn't enough projects, there wasn't enough here to assess. If you look at the fire budget of close to 800,000, I want to suggest that we don't operate off of an 8 mil budget. And I don't know when it's too, I mean, I'm just, for me, I'm not for an 8 mil budget.
I can tell you the differences, so I just did a bill, on my working sheet, I just changed it from 8 mils to 7.
Yeah.
And you were closer, Mayor, than I was. It was actually $396,000 difference. So, if we change to 7, then that 7 can be reduced by the 396. And then if you want to go to 6.5, 6.5, I mean, do you want to have any increase to?
Well, I want us to live, for me, I want to see, I mean, a millage decrease until we can get something that supports the fire department back on the way the fire department was originally set up, which was off of an assessment and not off of a millage rate. There's nothing, and this is just some general comments, there's nothing that when you assess, at least you're assessing on equal, that one home represents a home. It doesn't matter if it's a $500,000 home or $1 million home. They're going to get the same fire protection, doesn't matter. So the ad valorem tax rate that we charge to offset the fire department is about the most grossly, I mean, there's nothing good about ad valorem tax supporting the fire department, in my opinion. It's a service that we offer, but it should be equally spread. I don't know yet if we're at the point that we've got enough structures to spread it back to where we were. I doubt we do. But when the fire department was formed, it was done, for those of you who recall, that we will do it through assessment. And it was, my Lord, it was debated. So I'd like to see us start looking at doing that again and get rid of the millage that was added to the 5.31 that we had before the storm to make up for the total support of the fire department. We can't do it. We obviously can't do all that at one time. I understand that, but I'm for 7 mills. I sure am. I just think, and next year we ought to look at getting back to what we told people we were going to do when it comes to support of the fire department. Because the general fund's sucking up that whole budget.
and I'm going to take this document if you want and remove the last 2 columns and add 2 extra columns to show you the impact of changing the millage rate.
Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah, you ought to do that. Give us some options there. Instead of an 8 mil budget, show us what happens to a lesser budget, even though I don't know how everybody else is going to feel about that, but I think that's...
Well, 6.5 mils, you'll have 115,000 to the good. So you're not going to be, without some kind of increase to the fund balance, but you will have a $600,000 decrease to the line you see in there. But I'll add 2 more and then send it out so you guys can see the impact.
Well, let me ask you something. Just another comment. Back on your presentation that was under general fund property tax revenue, you showed that we've increased 16.5% over last year. 57,441,869. Let's fast forward another year. I would have to think that that's going to hold true with the building, the COs that are coming up, property that's coming online, I think that if you fast forward to 22, 23, that 16% will hold true, if not higher.
I think it'll be higher. I think
Well, I do too.
you're right.
I do too.
Yeah, I think you.
And my point in that
You're
is,
dating.
I totally agree. I think it will. My point being that with that percentage of increase in 2 years, I don't think we need $700,000 to play with. I think we're going to generate an income from tax revenue that's going to help us fill in some of these holes that are unknown, that always come up. So I'm okay with living close to the vest. I think we should live close to the vest. And I don't know where this FEMA thing's going to go. The forgiving of that the governor did is an absolute huge win for this city. Where all of us have been thinking how we're going to pay our share. Well, I think there's going to be other monies come along here that'll fill in some of those gaps. And that's just, I don't have anything to base that on. But I don't think we can budget too far ahead in terms of having a savings account when we're at 8 mils. That's the bottom line for me. I just don't think we can do it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Maybe it's a question for Debbie. If we go to an assess, is there some way that we can get an indication of what assess would do by dropping the millage rate and all that? You know, give us an idea of how much.
You mean what we did before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've got those formulas. I'm sure Sandy, Debbie, do you have the formulas that were, or do you have or Mario, somebody, is there a way to go back and get what the single family home was and what a commercial was and what
I'm sure there's a way to find it, but keep in mind, all those values have changed. So, and the quantity has changed, so I mean.
I understand. That's why I don't think we're ready to address the assessment, because you gotta have enough of us here to do it.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, are you in an Excel program? Do you do this in an Excel program? Debbie?
Yes, right. The county actually sends a form out in June called the DR 489B, and that's the valuation. And they have it broken out by land type, residential, commercial,
Sure.
homestead, non-homestead. So that would be something that you categorically you could look at and compare. Or I would create comparisons for you so you can see like the last 3-4 years. And then you can it's hard to do a projection because of the issues that we've had in the prior couple of years because of the values just dropping. There's no rhyme or reason. You're going to do something back and the commercial versus the residential, who's going to be homesteaded, who's going to be not. So you can do an estimation, but you can have a factor of, maybe a 15% variance on it, just because you're not sure who's going to come online first.
Well, I mean, is that something that you can do in the Excel program fairly easy, or is it pretty complicated, take a lot of time? It's a fairly easy thing to throw in the program? I mean, for me, that gives me a clarification of what Al's saying, and I think he's absolutely right. I mean, we need to show these folks that we're trying to keep our word. We're trying to be the right kind of leadership here and drop this millage rate as soon as we can, because it's very important. But to give us a little bit of guideline, because one thing that I'm always concerned about is, we got values going on right now. The home sales are going really good right now. A lot of people buying stuff, but we're headed toward a crunch here because material has gotten so expensive, and so I'm shocked that we haven't slowed down more than we have. And I just want to, those kinds of things is what I'm thinking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Debbie, go back to what you said, at least send us a breakdown of a 8, 7,
Yeah.
or 8, 7, half, 7, 6.5. How about that?
Yeah, let's go down to 6.
Okay.
And let us look at those numbers, because the budget is clearly without any capital improvements. All we're doing, and we're keeping people employed. and we're paying their benefits. I mean, we don't have any, there's no capital, there's nothing happening here in this budget.
No big machinery, nothing we need.
Not for me. So there's not gonna be any drastic, where you sit down, and if you remember from the old days of where we counted Band-Aids, and I say that in jest, there's nothing here to add to or take out. It's what it takes to keep people working.
Hey, it's bare bones.
Yes, bare bones. So, I just think we gotta bare bone our reserve, for lack of a better word, even though I think until we can get back to some normalcy, whenever that can happen, so if you would send those out, I think that would be helpful, and then we can, on the general fund, we can look at. And now you did take into account that we can't budget more than 95% of that money, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. All right, that's all I got to say. Thank you. Keep going, or that, those we're at the end of the general fund. Any other questions on the general fund budget?
Okay. Let me. Okay, now we're in the water, to the start on page 10.
Page 10, okay?
So, again, you can see line item where we had, on the water sales, we had $1,141,000 budgeted this year, and through July, I think Sherry just billed for around maybe $700,000. You can see that if I have 2 more periods left, and I'm at $700,000, I am not going to materialize that $1.1 million just in July, in August and September. So that's, I think what we've collected so far, based on the per period, the estimate for August and September to get the full 12 periods, and then with a 5% increase for next fiscal year is how I came up with that 922. And then I just left the other items the same again, just because they're so small, and it's going to be like an immaterial amount if we don't see a couple $1,000s on those items. So we went from a $1,221,000 to $999,000 on the total revenue. And again, I just think every single fund is balanced. So so that's the goal is to make sure we're getting that revenue to cover expenses. So the only one that has the wiggle room is the general fund. The enterprise funds don't have much. They don't have any wiggle room. All right. So if we go to the expenses, you can see some of the changes. Were based on that 5% cost of living and an increase to the benefits. And then you go down, there's really not much of a change to any of the line items except for when you get to the principal and interest, and that's because we paid off that SunTrust loan. And then our water expenditures equal the water revenues for zero difference in impact to retained earnings or savings. Any questions about the water fund? I mean, we're not projecting any rate increases, so there's nothing to increase for that. It was just based on solely on growth.
All right, did we just pay off the water fund?
The SunTrust.
Yeah, we just paid that off last year, or this year.
Yes, April 2021. Yes.
Okay. That doesn't help us. That doesn't give us a little relief.
The water, around 50 grand was the water portion. You still have $213,000 in principal payments and around $63,000 in interest for the other 2 loans. You have the USDA and the SRS for water.
For water?
Have, let's see, 134,000. And then that, we have an SRF and USD loan still.
But are those on the water or sewer?
one is sewer and 2 are water.
Don't we have another one coming up that's gonna pay off in a few years?
That's the one we just paid off. The next one is 2039, and then one's 2052 after that. And then, I don't have the SRF one. Wait, I do right here, hold on. No, I don't. It's not Amazon. I can use it
Okay,
for 20.
alright, so we don't have it. Okay. Alright, never mind.
The
Now, I'll-
payment on the SRF one. So in a couple of years, that one will pay it off.
Yeah. When again?
There's 8 payments remaining.
I think it's
That's on
2023.
19
Yeah.
May. Yeah.
Alright, well, is that a water fund?
Yeah, water.
Okay. How much is that paid?
That's 87,000, 20 years.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
87,000.
alright, we just got rid of a 50 and an 87. We got an 87 coming up. I'm trying to, my point is, that ought to help us, surely that helps. I know it hadn't paid off, but surely that will make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about 300,000,
Yeah.
well, I say it was one, that, your total debt payment for principal and interest is around the 300,000 mark. So you'll be able to get rid of maybe a third of it in 2023, 24.
Right.
It's going the right way, so that's good. But we have, again, most of the capital request or capital improvements has been by FEMA, so there's nothing in this budget for it. I would expect, just like the revenues for the property tax, the user fees would grow very similarly, where you'll see another increase. Because if you look 3 years ago, it was 1,141,000 in water, and then it dropped off drastically because you lost all your units. And so it's going to come back, and I think next year, the year after, we should be back in a really good track.
Debbie, did I get you the increase that Bay County had on water?
No, not in no.
Okay.
The same. So how much is that?
I need to get that to you.
Okay. Where myself a note.
That's for the
Okay.
increase, Mario.
Yeah,
Increase in the.
They increased the rate that they charge us for water.
All right, so on the water, you're saying that our current rate schedule is gonna hold us, we can live within that?
I believe so, unless Bay County comes back and just doesn't
Yeah,
the rate or anything, right?
it'll just be
Yeah, it's
47 cents
yeah,
or something, it's not
it's a
gonna be-
small percentage, and we automatically raise our rate to match that. So I mean, it's a pass through for us.
Oh, yeah, okay, even. Okay, good. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, sanitation. So, sanitation is the same boat. The fees collected on page 12 are significantly less than what they were prior to the storm. I know that the big push for the garbage truck, if it's an immediate need, I do have a suggestion that we could bond it out and then pay it off, pay off early, make sure there's no prepayment issues, because we would be able to recoup or to pay that loan off early if our growth occurs at the same rate as the other two enterprise funds, which I don't expect them to not. So you could use a loan to get new garbage trucks in the interim and then have them paid off early, as long as you have any prepayment issues. It depends on the dire need that the garbage truck represents. So, and it takes quite a while, a few months, right, to get a garbage truck in. So I don't know if that matters or not, because that extends your the time that you can get it. But that's right now, that's the immediate way you could get a garbage truck. Because there is no wiggle room yet in this fund as well. And the sewer fund, sanitation fund is small anyway compared to the water and sewer. So we do have $10,000 in there for machinery equipment for dumpsters, but that's a far cry from the amount of money you'll need for a new garbage truck.
What's a big garbage truck, Tommy?
200,000.
200.
That's a 25 ton.
25 ton, that's correct.
That's. Well, let me tell you, if we, prior to Michael, we budgeted money to buy new trucks every 5th year or 4th year. So that this didn't happen. If we're gonna stay in the garbage business, we gotta do the same thing. It's just that simple. You can't expect a 13-year-old truck to travel, what, we're gonna put 4 hours a day on it going to the dang landfill.
That's right. 4-hour trip.
And I think that's something, if we don't make it somewhere in our thinking here, if we do not adjust to getting a new truck and then getting on a 5-year schedule of budgeting so much money every year so that at the end of 5 years, we write them a check. I don't know about the bonding. I'm trying to just think, has anybody got a better, or what's another municipal way of getting $200,000?
Check our rates. Check our current
Check
rates.
the current rate?
So Michael,
I don't know that I won't know what that is, but, what are we doing with our impact fees?
You don't get a
you don't have
sanitation.
to sanitation.
Oh, yeah.
There's no
Sanitation, my
sanitation.
bad.
Again, that's why when she said 710, I thought, oh, there's our garbage truck, and she quickly slapped my hand and said, no, you can't use it.
Well, but what about, water, sewer, sanitation together? We don't have 200,000?
No, again, sewers, their impact and the,
But Debbie, there are ways to put those together, are there not?
Oh, right, yeah, you could make one enterprise fund, make it a utility fund, and then have, but you still have segregated, revenues and, cash accounts.
I understand, I'm not worried about the revenue, I'm worried about the expenses. I would go find, can we collectively in the enterprise funds find any money that would go toward purchase of trucks?
we can loan one department money to the other.
Right.
That's one way of doing it, as long as you can make sure that that fund has got a way to pay it back.
Well, it will at some point.
Right. No, is our attorney still there?
No.
We had
I
faith.
didn't know. Don't remember.
We're supposed to be talking about this on the phone?
Oh.
No, I'm serious. I hadn't looked at all of them as closely as, but is there a way to collectively use our enterprise funds surplus, even though it's maybe small, even if it's not the full price of a truck? Do we have any extra? Can we do that? Think about it.
That's a good one.
Sharpen the pencil.
Plus we get smaller truck, we don't have to go to 25.
We have to make sure that the attorney,
Right.
the statute hasn't changed. But you could, others have done this, where the gentleman will loan another fund, but it has to be an interest rate, like a competitive interest rate, and it has to be, you're gonna have to do, like an ordinance agreement with that fund, and then you have to, reimburse, like set up a internal loan. And then you have to budget the transfers out to the general fund, but you have to do it at an interest rate because you're using, tax revenues for it, so I just need to make sure there's no, statute changes. It's been a while since that was done, or I've done that.
Mayor,
Can we digest all of that and see if there's something?
let me see if there's some crazy CDBG grant that I can go after. I don't know,
What's a smaller truck, Tom? Like, it used to be 140,000.
Yeah,
18 yard.
Well, when Troy, we talked about it the other day, we didn't even get a price maker on the smaller one. We just figured with not being able to finish the route now and get the steel field,
Okay.
that we needed the 25.
That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
to be able to finish the route and get over there in time.
How long does it take to get a truck? What's our lead time on that?
typically it's 6 months. 6 months to get one?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
6 months. In 6 months, can you find 200,000?
Yeah.
I think you could. All right, let's help us there creatively if there is a way to see what we can come up with for that. We've got to do something there, and we don't want to raise the rates.
I do have another thought. So,
Hey, you've done it before.
I know. No pressure. But hey, Michael, I do have an idea that's out of the box that you guys talk about first.
Okay. That's fine.
It involves using $180,000 that we have somewhere else. So,
Okay.
okay, so all I have is my
Okay. Yeah.
budget workshop, we can address that.
Okay, we'll stand by. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good to me. Okay. All right, so the final is sewer. Again, that same methodology we used for the revenues on page 13, as we previously have done, and then there has been a little bit more decrease in the revenues just because that impacted that decrease in the expenses because of the decrease in the revenues. For example, on the repairs and maintenance, we had budgeted $125,000 this year. I brought it down to 100. We've only used around 74, and we need to be able to balance the budget. I also brought down the operating supplies from 50 to 30 because currently we're around 10 grand. The change to the principal and interest also helped. And then professional services are budgeted $26,000. I took that entirely out because that was anything that's going to be for engineering is going to be at the FEMA level.
Debbie, I wouldn't go quite that aggressive because we've got some maintenance things that we have to do, and we're falling behind on some maintenance. So I'm going to need some engineering, and I'm going to need some O&M.
Okay, you just let me know what you're going to put back in.
Okay, and that's, I'm speaking for Kevin. He's not here, but I know that we're going to need some.
Okay.
And we are going after some CDBG grants to go after the overhaul of about 8 lift stations, but if all of that doesn't come through, we're still going to have some skin in the game.
Okay, so operating supplies and engineering, we'll put mine back in.
Put some of it back in, but
You just let me know what you want.
yeah, let me talk to Kevin before I tell you what he needs.
Okay. Okay, and then the very last page, 14, has the total city budget, which is $6,354,277, and I'm rounding up. And so that's the balanced budget. Once we have the final, this is the number, then we'll use these numbers for the ordinance or resolution for adoption, and then on the trip notices and the trip map.
All right, I want to raise a question before we. You saw that the COLA was 5%. we have followed that or tried to. We have done, since the storm even, we have been what I think fair and carried out right with our employees. Is everyone here? I mean, that's the highest that the code has been. I don't know how, I don't know, but it hadn't been 5%, I know that.
What did we get last year? 2.5, 3?
We went with 3%. We went with 3, and even after the storm, even on the 18 or the 1920 budget, we went 3.
That number, Susan, where it came from, was based on the government statistics of the cost of living, based on 5.4% increase.
Right.
So, I just use that historically, so that we're,
Right. We have tried to do that. I think we have not always. I don't know that we have always done it. I think sometimes when Nicole was 2, one year we went to 3. My only question is that so that when Debbie factors all this in, is that what we want to stay at 5%?
5 for me.
3 for me.
These people are going to pay a lot more gas. It's not going to change for a while. Most of them don't live in the city. They have to travel a good ways. The cost of living high 5% as far as I'm concerned.
I still with you.
If we stay with 5, I think it's 5, depending on what happens when that comes up, we don't have to do 5, we can do 4 or 3.
No, I just think she can factor it. I mean, this whole thing is based on 5, and it affects everything down the line.
Yeah.
You know, it affects all of the benefits. If the consensus is to stay at 5, then she doesn't need to go back and rework all this. If there's a consensus here that we don't want to do 5, or that we obviously we want to do, but is it what we can afford to do based on what we've done in the last 2 years? And you have to just, Bobby's right. Everything he said was right. It costs more to live. It costs more to drive here. It costs all of that. But we've also got our citizens that are paying the bill, and 5% is something. I think that's a question mark we ought to go in and discuss now.
Is that something, Debbie, that you can do fairly easy in your program, just to give us an idea of what we'd be looking at? I mean, can we throw that in there, and then that way, because we got more of these workshops coming, and both of these are valid, absolute valid points. And so
what's the range that we do? I can do like I'm doing for your ad valorem and do columns,
Do 3, 4, and 5.
Whatever.
3, 4, and 5, yeah.
Okay, do 3, 4, and 5 just to see what the bottom line, how that affects. How's that?
All the money.
Yeah, no, it's
And then we can look at that at our next time, just like we're going to look at the millage rate. Outside of that, I don't see anything there to really discuss. Gas is gas, and supplies are supplies. Well, I want to say, I've said in a lot of these, I very much like your layout and the way you have presented this. It has been very, very, very easy to follow what we're doing and why we're doing it. So thank you for that.
How do we ever let her get away from here?
I'll tell you. When she's off the phone, I'll tell you about that.
I'll be there in September for the final adoption.
Yay!
Good.
Are you flying a helicopter down here?
Yeah, I have my private jet. Drop me off of it.
Bringing your dog?
I can.
Bring Chris with you too.
There you go.
All
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else for this meeting?
Not for the budget, but I can just give you a quick update on the finance situation.
Yes.
The fiscal year 20 audit, all the stuff is rolling forward. I mentioned earlier about how the 1.15 million has been reallocated to the water fund, so we're in the positive with the water cash balance. And then we're going to be moving forward with the same thing for the sewer fund. So even though it doesn't look good on paper, I think that we're going to be in the same situation with the sewer once everything kind of boils out. And Rochelle was in a very good place. We're cleaning up a lot of mess in the fiscal year 20 just because of the craziness that was going on. So I think fiscal year 21 audit will begin in November. So we should have everything caught up by January 2022.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so our next meeting to discuss budget is scheduled for our next council meeting after it. Is that correct?
According to the schedule, we had another budget to stay on the timeline of the state. We actually had another second budget workshop, and the third budget workshop. If we can, if you don't need three, then we can skip two and use the third date we had. I don't know if do you have a copy of the schedule, Maureen, Andy, or?
I do not.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
It's July 13th was today. July 21st, which should be the second, if we want to use that date. But July 27th was the third. So that was the budget workshop that was scheduled, and then after that we go into adoption of tentative. And that's when your timeline starts, so we have to adhere to all the number of days after filing and your ads and stuff. So really the wiggle room is now. If you want to make some workshop date change, you just let me know. Make sure that I get my calendar. But
would
you
you
want
like?
to do the 21st and you want to do the 27th.
Do you think we're far enough along that we only need the 27th, or do you want to have a meeting on the 21st and the 27th?
I'm far enough along for 27. Based on what I see here, I mean, there's just not. I mean, I don't see.
Debbie, are you okay if we just have a meeting on July 27th and skip the one on the 21st?
City council meeting.
And I can send out the updated docs.
We'll send
Yeah,
her.
yeah, you can give us that information, and we can have time to, that'll give us food for thought. Is that good with everyone?
Yeah.
27? All right, David, 27.
Sounds good.
I'm curious, did you stay on the line and listen to the whole council meeting?
I did. I absolutely did. It was like old home week.
All right, I will pass on that. Bye.
She enjoys going to the dentist too.
Bye, thank you. Motion for adjournment. Yeah, Rob, what you got?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You talked about the assessment thing. I was here for 2017 with the fire department and all that. You guys actually have a PDF online. And back then, you were looking at $325 per house and 50 cents per square foot on commercial. And instead, you chose the route of the 2.25 mils. That brings up, that's what's paying for the fire department, 2.25.
Right.
When you say the special assessment going back that way, let me ask you a question. Everywhere I have ever freaking lived, there's never been a special assessment for fire departments or police departments. I mean, a special assessment to me for the fire department, what's the difference between them and the police department? I'd rather pay a millage rate for the whole city to operate. To me, a special assessment is something like, hey, you want to keep the canal open? The dredge fell away. We're going to special assess everybody $100 lives on the canal to buy a new dredge.
Well, you are here when the fire department formed.
Yes, I was. I was in the meeting talking about all this. What happened was
that we did that based on that's what the citizens wanted. This government didn't choose that path.
No,
The citizens chose that path for themselves. It's my point. Had meetings, Everyone came, hired the company to show up, tell us here's what you do, here's how it works. So special assessments for fire departments, while you might not live there, are very commonly done throughout the state of Florida. But they may not, but that's not it's not an albatross.